Father Fernando Cardenal, a Nicaraguan Jesuit, joined the Sandinista liberation movement, Frente Sandinista de Liberación Nacional, in 1973 and played an important role in the revolution which toppled the Somoza dictatorship in 1979. In the Sandinista revolutionary government, Fernando served as National Director of the Literacy Crusade in 1980 and then as Minister of Education from 1984 to 1990.
Why do I hope to go to paradise after my death? Soon I will celebrate my 77th birthday, and even though I am not retired and continue working, it is natural at my age to think, simply and without any drama, that death could be close at any moment. A massive heart attack, a sudden rise in blood pressure, I do have hypertension, a car accident could take me to my death without being able to communicate with my family, my fellow Jesuits, and my friends. That is why it occurred to me to write down now the reflections that I would like to be communicated at the hour of my death. This I do now. First, I will make some religious reflections, then some about the current situation of Nicaragua, and I end leaving two tasks for my Jesuit superiors and family. Everything that I tell you comes from the very depths of my heart. I have no type of material goods, but I do want to leave my reflections to you, my family and friends. I hope that I will be saved and go to paradise with God for various reasons. Jesus said, "He who believes and is baptized will be saved." I was baptized just days after birth, and since my childhood have maintained my faith in God and in His emissary, Jesus Christ. A faith that has been strengthened and matured in my years of religious life as a Jesuit. The evangelist St. John told us in his first letter, "If anyone recognizes that Jesus is the Son of God, God remains in them, and they in God." I express this faith every day when in my prayer I say to Jesus with faith and love, like the Apostle Thomas, "My Lord and my God." I trust in His promise. Regarding the Eucharist, a number of paragraphs appear from Jesus in chapter 6 of the Gospel of St. John. We find this phrase there: "Those who eat my flesh and drink my blood will have eternal life, and I will raise them up on the last day." For 58 years I have been participating in or celebrating the Eucharist every day of my life, daily Mass continuously for all these years. This gives me great hope. I trust in His promise. In chapter 25 of the Gospel of St. Matthew, Jesus describes the final judgment. "Then the King will say, 'Come, you who are blessed by my Father. inherit the kingdom prepared for you since the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me to drink. I was homeless, and you received me into your home. I was naked, and you clothed me. Later on in the Gospel, it says that these people will ask the Lord, "When was this?" And the Gospel says that he will say to them, "Truly I say to you that when you did it to any of the least of these, you did it to me." It is important to understand that Jesus does not say that he will take what I do for these poor people as having been done to him. He does not say that. He says, "You did it to me." He fully identifies himself with the poor. He is very clear. In 1970, after living 9 months with people in extreme poverty in a marginalized neighborhood in the city of Medellin, Colombia, I was saying goodbye to my neighbors, whom I had come to love very much. In those 9 months of living with them, I had become very fond of them, and that love made me feel tremendous pain because of their extreme poverty. I saw them as submerged in a sea of permanent suffering, without hope. So in saying goodbye to them, I made them a solemn oath. I told them that I would dedicate what life I had left to the liberation of the poor, to the struggle for justice, out of love for them, inspired by them. In this year, 2010, I have been fulfilling that promise for 40 years. I have continued to fulfill it every day since. First of all, I currently fulfill my oath with my work in Fe y Alegria, providing quality education to our students to free them from poverty and open up a decent future for them, a decent life, and one worthy of human beings and children of God. We work with the poorest in the country, or at least with very poor people. We are where the pavement ends, where the city loses its name. That is working for the liberation of the poor. In addition, every day I support 20 extremely poor families with whom I formed friendships 13 years ago when I lived in the Edgar Munguia neighborhood, very close to the Central American University. I lived there for 3 years. Now I live in the Jesuit community in the Uca. My friends come in by foot every day. From the charity I receive, I give them money for food and medicines, and above all, loans so they can have small businesses selling different things in their homes and on the street. That is why I hope, supported by chapter 25 of Matthew, that on the last day the Lord will say to me, "Come on in, Fernando, because I was hungry and you gave me to eat. I was illiterate and you taught me to read." I trust in his promise. But there is another reality. I am a sinner. I recognize my sins and weaknesses. It is also true that never by the grace of God in me have I committed a crime either publicly or privately, because God has been strong in me. But I recognize that many times I have not lived up to what St. Ignatius of Loyola expects of us Jesuits. In spite of my sins, I continue expecting to go to paradise. In chapter 15 of the Gospel of St. Luke, some Pharisees and scribes criticized Jesus and were scandalized that he ate with sinners. So Jesus told them three parables. the one on the lost sheep, the one about the lost coin, and the one of the lost son, known as the prodigal son. These made it clear that Jesus sees sinners as lost, not as perverse, dirty, bad people, but as something very loved that was lost. And that is why they are sought after, wanted, awaited, hugged, and have a party thrown when they are discovered. And they are not censored. Nothing is held against them. And there are other scenes in the real life of Jesus, not just parables, where he always forgives and in many cases, even before the sinner expressly asks for pardon, like the public sinner on the stretcher, who they lower through the roof of the house, and many others. I expect that this Jesus forgives my sins also. Every day in my prayer, I ask the forgiveness of the Lord for my sins. I trust in his mercy. When the hour comes for me to leave this life, I will go happily and very gratefully to God for the life that I have lived, grateful to my family, my fellow Jesuits, and above all, for the happiness that my marvelous friends and brothers and sisters have given me, who I consider to be a true gift from God. As I look back, my life has been filled with joy and gratefulness. But I will also leave with great sadnesses. Sadness that still close to half of the population of Nicaragua lives in poverty. We continue to be the poorest country of the Latin American continent. But in addition, as long as so little money gets invested in national education, we will never get out of this poverty. Let's not stupidly fool ourselves, nor fool our people. Many countries have begun to invest seriously in education since the end of the 19th century, including Costa Rica, and we in Nicaragua in the 21st century have not yet begun to seriously invest in education. No country of the world has come out of poverty without first seriously investing in education. This is what the international organizations say. Worse yet, at the end of last week, today is Monday, September 20th, 2010, the executive sent a reform of the national budget to the National Assembly to be urgently passed, and in it they take more than 54 million cordobas from the Ministry of Education. What a shame. Instead of moving forward, we are going backwards. I heard the previous Minister of Education, Miguel de Castilla, say that in Nicaragua there are 500,000 children outside of the educational system, and 500,000 more with access only to low-quality types of education. In other words, there are 1,000,000 children with a very uncertain future. That is a lot for a country that has a population of just over 5 million. This is a time bomb that is going to explode, without question. For many of these young people, it could be that they are left with no other alternative to survive than falling into crime. All of us should be interested in Nicaragua seriously investing in education, especially the state, which is mainly responsible for education in the country. If some government has no interest in respecting the inalienable rights to a quality education to which every child is entitled, it should at least do it out of fear for its own safety. Let us see ourselves in the mirror of the gangs in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. We, the different organizations that are working on education in Nicaragua, state that right now the goal is for 7% of the gross domestic product in the country to be invested in education, not including higher education. Currently, only 3.8% is being invested. Economists tell us that 7% is possible. It only requires a political decision. It also saddens me to see the deep and extensive corruption in the political life of the country. And it saddens me even more that some high level leaders of the Sandinista party are participating in that corruption, with which they frustrated the hopes that the people had placed in them to obtain their liberation. The lack of respect and repeated violations of the Constitution of the Republic profoundly sadden me, as does the lack of respect for the institutionality of the country. Sadness over so much domestic violence against women and horrendous criminal rapes of girls and boys. The ongoing extermination of our forests also saddens me. They are killing our environment and putting the future lives of our people in danger. I have more reasons for sadness, but I believe that this is not the place to make a more complete and profound listing of them. In spite of all these sadnesses, I am a man of hope. The last chapter of my memoirs, published 2 years ago, is called Hope. For me, the basis for this is that I profoundly believe in the youth. We worked together in the struggle against the Somoza dictatorship from the Christian revolutionary movement. There I was a direct witness of their sacrifice, the mystique, their courage in the face of the danger of being murdered. 14 lost their lives. Then I was also a direct witness of the wonders of valor and commitment, in some cases even heroism, of the 60,000 young volunteers that went into the mountains in the National Literacy Crusade. And afterwards, I worked for 5 years with the Sandinista youth, the youth of the revolution. In those 3 places, I found that the youth have great interior fortitude and an ability to give of themselves without limits, to work on all the tasks that benefit the people. I did not hear stories. I was with them, men and women. They are my hope. The only thing needed is that society offer them a great, noble, beautiful cause. If it be difficult, all the better, and that those leading it are people with moral authority. I hope that the youth take to the streets again to make history. Finally, I want to leave 2 recommendations to my superiors of the Society of Jesus and to my family members. 1. If by chance I am kidnapped, I ask you now to not give a cent for the rescue of my life, that you use that money for important works to extend the reign of God. And 2, if I end up dealing with an illness in which the condition of my life is inhuman and irreversible, I ask you now to disconnect me from the tubes and machines and let me die in peace.